I need you when I'm walking in the door coming home. Everyone, keep it quiet. He's not only your husband, he's an award-winning comedian. He's a legend.
Please, welcome to the stage.
It's Dai Henwood!
Please welcome Dai Henwood.
It's Dai Henwood. I say I'm living with cancer. I'm living. I'm weirdly the happiest I've actually been in my life. Because I am the father of a boy and I want him to grow up to be a good man. You can't just say boys shouldn't be aggressive because that's in there. So in terms of the island healing, as far as I got is a lot of cover. Can you not just say Tomoko, you know?
Tomoko.
Tomoko.
Tomoko again. Timoko scores the try.
What I love about comedy is no one does it for the money. They do it because
What tips would you give to budding comedians?
it's...
Mandate.
Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from the 04, originally from the 04, Wendy Wellington, the capital city. He's one of New Zealand's finest and top stand-up comedians, and you'll recognise him on TV shows like 7 Days. You also remember him on How Much Are You Paying Attention? Also, you see him as the host. He was one of the hosts on Family Feud. He was also a host on Dancing with the Stars and also on Lego Masters New Zealand. But also in the comedy realm, in the comedy space, you've seen him on Comedy Gala, you've seen him on Just for Laughs. Also, he was also on the New Zealand International Comedy Festivals as well. And that man has won it all. He's won all the awards in terms of the Billy T Awards. Also, he's won the Fred Awards twice. He's also won the NZCG Award as best male comedian in Aotearoa. And so he's more than just a comedian, more than just a host. He's also a family man, but also has an amazing story to share. Please put your hands together for the one and only, one of New Zealand's finest funny man, Dai Henwood!
Yeah, that was awesome. there we go.
Oh, hey, Dai, thank you so much for coming on. It's a real privilege.
I need you as my hype man.
Hey, you got 3 hype men.
I need you when I'm walking in the door coming home. Everyone, keep it quiet. He's not only your husband, he's an award-winning comedian. He's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend, absolute legend. You are, Dai. And even though we joke around about it, you are a legend. You are a legend, brother. And so it's an absolute pleasure and privilege to have you on at the table with us. So I thought just to start the ball rolling, because your life has changed. I know life has changed dramatically for you in terms of obviously people think of you and know you as a comedian and also as a host on several TV programs. But I thought if we just kind of run straight into it in terms of obviously your diagnosis in cancer. And so just wanted to ask, brother, in terms of how do you view life right now, and what is your perspective in terms of life in this present time and in present moment?
My perspective on life got crystallized very fast. When you get a diagnosis, for me went from stage 4 cancer to what they call incurable cancer, which is that means it's incurable under the Western means of treatment at the moment. Something else might pop up. But it made me just realise that life is beautiful and all we have is this moment. And it actually has given me this perspective of love and how much I love being alive, how much I love humans and how awesome people are. And there's all this stuff going on in the world, and you can look online and you can find people fighting and arguing and that. But when you see people face to face, they're good people. And I've been travelling around the country doing gigs in small towns and that. I'm meeting people who might believe very different things than me, might vote different to me, but when I chat to them, they're just going, man, love your comedy, would love to have a chat about your diagnosis, da-da-da. And I've just felt so privileged, and it's just made me realise that living now is so important. And that's the thing is, I say I'm living with cancer. I'm living every day. Like, I'm weirdly the happiest I've actually been in my life because I've got my head together. I was lucky enough, I sort of got off the booze before my diagnosis, and I think if I hadn't done that, it would have been a real struggle. It would have had a lot of ups and downs. But I've just realised that this world is a beautiful place. We get one shot at it. Live every day. And success doesn't mean you've got to be at the top of the mountain, you've got to be earning all the cash, you know. I've actually realised, hey, sitting and looking at something beautiful, like at a beautiful sunset and tree, is enough, you know. Actually just going, I am enough, and I always was enough. And I think a lot of people out there don't think that they're enough. And you are, you know. You don't have to be. You don't have, you know, with the internet, it makes everyone think, I've got to be, you know, if I'm playing rugby, I've got to be in the All Blacks. If I'm doing this, I've got to be at the top. No, you don't. You can just be a beautiful human on this earth. So the diagnosis has been hard. It's been really hard on my family. It's been physically really hard on me. But I actually feel in a way I think I'm a better man for it.
Wow, man. Because often people, when they're kind of diagnosed with something, or maybe a terminal illness, die, people think, okay. And I hear often people say, okay, I see, put things in perspective in terms of things that used to matter to me don't matter as much as opposed to just my family and the most important things in terms of love and all that kind of stuff. Is that means, obviously, it seems like it's the case for you as well.
Oh, completely. Like, it immediately you go, what matters? You know, like sometimes you got to take some time off because everyone's going to die with stuff on their to-do list, you know? So it's like going, why do you have to finish it every day? Like you're always going to have something to do. So for me, it just actually crystallized, what do I love doing? I love comedy. For me, I love comedy. I love rugby league. I love my son loves rugby union. He plays rugby union. I love watching him play sport. I love hanging out with my daughter. I love spending time with my wife, and I love my mates. So I was just like, I've actually got to put lots of effort into that. And now when I travel doing gigs, I try and take my whānau with me. So we can go away, you know, I'll try and book a couple of nights doing gigs in Oakuni. That'll sort out some cash to maybe go skiing, and so I'm trying to do it that way, and I feel better for it. I feel a lot more comfortable in my skin. I was a real sort of people pleaser, I suppose, where I was always, was that good gig good enough? Was it? And now I'm like, whatever. Like I'm just sort of comfortable. I feel comfortable. I'm ready for the cancer to go now. But I feel comfortable and I feel pretty happy, eh?
Awesome. Man, that's powerful, brother. Thanks for sharing that and, you know, right off the bat. Let's go.
Yeah, because I think not enough dudes especially actually let their emotions out or not let their emotions out, let themselves into their emotions, you know? They box it all up. They don't actually look and go, hey, what do I love? You know, what I reckon dudes are often not soft enough on themselves. You know, you're sort of hard on yourself and then you keep it quiet when you go home and you're just keeping it staunch for the family and sort of punching on through rather than just sitting and being a bit soft with yourself. Think, what do I love doing? You know?
That's cool. You mentioned, because you know how the diagnosis is incurable, but through Western treatment. So is there a belief that through other treatment that it might be curable, or is there a hope that there could be?
So I'm a very spiritual person, and I sort of I am willing to try everything. For instance, like I do your chemotherapy, surgery, radiation, and that, but there is a whole other side to healing. Like there's a very deep tradition of healing in Māori, you know, through rongoa and stuff. And I weirdly had this intuition of I kept having this dream of like either a Hawaiian indigenous healer or a Māori healer, and then I just got this message from this guy who runs this place, Mana Health, who is connected with this really old school Māori healer. So I'm going to go and see them. And I think for me, no one really knows where cancer comes from, right? So no one really knows what the cure is. So I think it's a lot of things all at once. And I know I've got a lot of internal work to do as well. And I'm still confident I'm going to beat it. And I'm also really lucky to have an open-minded oncologist. So he's willing to let me try a few things alongside of that. And for me, it's these things of, you know, even if you see, say, an Indigenous healer, it might not get rid of my cancer, but it might actually massively help me mentally, and because there's a lot more care and kindness, I think, that goes along with that sort of healing, which also is in Japanese culture, where I spend a lot of time in Japan. Basically, all these cultures have this deep spiritual healing side to it. And I mean, it was sadly outlawed in New Zealand, Māori healing, because it was considered witchcraft and all that sort of carry on. It's only recently sort of, I suppose, become accepted.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah. You haven't tried any Samoan healing, have you? Like the Samoan for fall?
No, to be honest, in terms of the island healing, as far as I got, is a lot of cover.
That's what I mean, Dai. That's what I mean.
I tell you, because my son's got, he's got a lot of Samoan mates and a lot of Tongan mates, and whenever I meet their dads, they're always, hey, I think I've got something that might help you out. It's always the cover.
Jamaican healing, potentially?
Oh, but they'll do plenty of Jamaican healing too. Don't you worry about it. So this is the weird thing, right? How, like, cannabis has been looked at as such just a drug. I've recreationally used it heaps in my life, right? It was a godsend for me. It changed the game for my treatment. It meant that when I'm doing chemotherapy and I'm using medicinal marijuana, I'm not taking probably 3 or 4 other drugs that they give you for nausea, and the drug they give you for nausea makes you constipated, which then makes you more nauseous. So I was using that for appetite, anti-nausea. It was getting rid of a couple of other symptoms. It was helping me sleep. It's like this thing of going, and there's a lot of studies now showing that it actually can help chemotherapy work a bit better. Wow. Like, so something that was vilified, you know, actually has, that is, which Jamaican history, I mean, even if you go back in Christianity, it's looked at as a healing plant. So I don't know why everyone gets so uptight about it. And I mean, it's that has actually been a huge help for me, eh?
That's awesome. And the key word is medicinal. Just in case you
Dai Henwood
It was recreational.
Excuse me, Officer Dai Henwood. But no, and the upside of that is now they're giving me like a license and I can fly with it and everything, go to Australia with it.
Wow.
I'll meet you overseas in the next.
So no, it was that was really interesting, and so many all the oncologists, they're behind it. They see what it's doing, and the sad thing is there's a lot of older patients who just have all the stigma behind it, you know, and so they won't have it. And you go, no, this could actually help you eat, because that's the hard thing. You don't want to be losing heaps of weight, and because I mean, cancer treatment is probably one of the only sicknesses you get where the treatment's worse than the symptoms almost.
Oh, true.
You know, like it's chemo is brutal. All chemo is made from the chemical warfare they used in like Vietnam War, from Agent Orange and stuff.
So you talk about radiation and all that kind of stuff.
No, the chemo that you get injected, the chemotherapy, because it kills fast-acting cells, which are cancer, but then it also kills skin cells and all that. So I've got this huge sort of regime to try and get myself in and out of it as good as I can. And I've been lucky enough, which has helped so much with my kids and that, to not have visually changed a lot. It sort of tends to be mainly breast cancer and that, where you lose your hair and all that. And also, I've been blessed that I've just wanted to keep doing comedy, because it's been part of my life the whole way.
Yeah, but you're looking good, mate. You're looking good. I think people talk about chemo and they think chemotherapy, obviously losing hair, lose your eyebrows, all that kind of stuff, and you get quite sickly, but you're looking good, mate.
No, that's the thing, is I freaked out, because, whatever you see it on TV, it's people like with bandana on just hobbling around, and then you go in there and it's actually nurses are sort of joking around, people are like just on their laptops doing their stuff, and so, I mean, it's very sad when you see the prevalence of cancer out there. Like, everyone's touched by it, eh? It's tragic how many people, and it doesn't matter what culture you are, it seems to just be prevalent.
And you're right in terms of it's no respect of anyone, eh? It just can happen to anyone. And I remember reading an article saying that you went there probably, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, Dai, and you kind of went to see, and they said, no, it was kind of like a misdiagnosis.
Oh, yeah. This was one of the roughest things was I had symptoms, sort of bleeding on toilet paper and that sort of thing around late 2016, 2017. I went to see a bowel specialist, and they said, no, you're all good. Then I was like pushing for a colonoscopy, and then, no, you're not in the bell curve of people who should be getting colonoscopy. You're too young, so you can't have one. And then in 2020, at the beginning of COVID, right at the beginning of COVID, and you remember at the beginning of COVID, before all vaccines and conspiracies and all that came out, when it just felt like we were all having one big sleepover, like we were all at home, everyone was online, and they're all, check out the 1 p.m. briefing. I went to the supermarket. You remember no one knew what was going on. There was a dude in the New World in a wetsuit with a snorkel. Dudes had no idea what was going on. And so I was diagnosed then. And because they said, look, you can go and have a colonoscopy, no one's in the hospitals. So I went in then, and then it was just, they found a tumour that was almost 15 centimetres long, and then they said that probably indicates that it's moved. So, and then it was in my liver as well, and now it's only in my lungs. It's nowhere else, but it's bowel cancer, but in my lungs. So that's sort of a mental trip to get over. But yeah, I mean, it's been the last year I've been writing a book. I've made a 3-part doco that I'm just editing together that'll go to air on 3, and then we're going to put it into sort of festivals and that. And it's all about living positively through adversity. Like I've lived such a wonderful life with I've met so many awesome people along the way, and I mean, I've got plenty more to give, but no, I just it's sort of looking back at my good days through comedy and a few crazy stories, then also tips and tools that I've learned along the way.
Jeez.
I love
that's
that,
cool. Yeah, that's
bro.
awesome, man.
Because, to get to that stage, though, it would have, I can't imagine, like, the mental gymnastics that you're going through, especially in your earlier days, being diagnosed, and then figuring out whether, do you have a sense of responsibility of sharing your story and helping others, or is it like stuff? This is my own journey. Like
that was the hardest thing, that's why I kept private for 3 years, because I also didn't want to go public when I was too emotional and it was just tears and woe is me, and I wanted to go public when I could share my story and in a way that could help people. And I get people contacting me all ages, cultures, just reaching out, either saying thanks or asking for tips, and it's so cool being able to help people, because selfishly, when you help people, you help yourself.
That's awesome.
But no, and a huge part for me has been going to Japan. Actually, like that's been when I was young. I used to go over there a lot in my teens. My dad would do a show over there, and I got taken to this monastery by a Buddhist actor, and I learnt full Zen Buddhism and meditation and all that, and then just partied for 20 years. I was just thinking actually on the way here, I got a flash to this craziest thing that happened to me in Japan when I would have been 18. I was over there and was with a few actors from the show, and one of them was this dude who was in Shortland Street, right? Michael Galvin, who was he was like Chris Warner on Shortland Street.
Warner, yes.
So we're in this bar with these other guys, and we've just been chatting to these ladies, having a drink, and then this real staunch like pimp guy comes up and he goes, "You owe us $2,000." And we're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you owe us this money, and because you spoke to them, so that's a bottle of champagne. Each champagne's $1,000." Then we hear, well, turn around, and Jerry Collins walked in the door. He goes, "Hey, it's the dude from Shortland Street, and you're that skinny comedian dude, eh?" He comes over, puts his arms around us, looks at the pimp guy and goes, "We got a problem here, mate." And they goes, nah, we're all good. And weirdly, I had a connection with Jerry from then, because he went home and played in my hometown in Wales, and I used to work for the Wellington Lions. Played rugby a lot when I was a boy. Wellington Lions doing gigs and that, and now I was thinking about that on the way over here actually, and then now I'm going there just fully sort of on a spiritual tip to sort of that place really re-ups my my own sort of mana. Like it makes me feel just strong and full, and I love it over there, and I love Japanese people as well.
Jeez,
Man, that's probably one of the coolest
Story,
Jerry
yeah,
Collins
story.
stories because I've heard heaps of stories about him. All these stories that have come out. That's a cool one.
Yeah, I only ever saw a beautiful side of that man. I saw a pretty piss crazy side of him as well, but also a very beautiful side of that man. And it was weird because I'm Welsh. I'm from Swansea, where the local team there's the Ospreys, and heaps of Wellington boys always went and played there. And I just always go over there and see my Welsh family and catch up with a few of the Wellington boys, because I played rugby sort of reps for Wellington throughout my teens until I didn't grow into an adult and everyone else did.
Halfback.
I moved from centre to halfback, and then there was nowhere else to go.
oh man,
Because I came through playing with the Tia boys. It was Philo,
Tia,
and Ace. And they were great. As a halfback, they were good dudes on the scrum looking after you, I tell you that. But no, I always loved my footy. I've always been, even though I've sort of been in the arts and like my folks were in the theatre a lot, I grew up in a theatre. I was so into sport and I just loved rugby.
it seems to be the case. Dai, 'cause there's a lot of creative people, a lot of people who are in the performing arts. They seem to love these sports as well. There's people who love their obviously rugby, all that kind of stuff. But they really, or even actors. I think of guys like Adam Sandler. Obviously he's basketball and he loves playing basketball. All these other actors who have really invested in the sports. And so, if it wasn't for comedy, would you have been obviously comedy or theatre? Would you have been actually pursuing an actual career in sports?
It's weird.
Or rugby?
So, sports actually for me, I got to a point where I realised I was at my limit in terms of like I wasn't going to be in a Super Rugby side. I wasn't going to be in the All Blacks, and I was happy with that. But it was so important for me as a way to release aggression, and I'm so glad my son has found that. like a place where you can honestly get that aggro out. My son loves the contact. I love the contact. And all that stuff that builds up in you, especially as a dude, as a young dude, you can go out and legally smash each other. And I reckon that's really positive. Like, that's a real positive thing for young dudes to get that aggression out on a Saturday. Get it out twice a week when you're in tackle practice. And I mean, I still play sport to this day. I've always played cricket as well. I've played cricket every season for 40 years now. I just love cricket's quite a good old man sport, you know. It's like just like running and bowl a few balls and then go and hit it. Now it's actually more because you don't often get to catch up with your mates enough when you get older, when you've got a family, when you've got responsibilities. So I love the team sport. I love it. Means on a Monday night can catch up. And also, when I moved away from the boozing side of it, I wanted something where I can catch up with my boys and it's not getting on the piss, but we're still got something to do. So whether that's playing golf, whether it's cricket, we're something that's got an activity around it.
That's awesome. You've mentioned a few things that are not spoken about in mainstream in terms of like the development for young men. Like, we need like an outlet. We need to get the aggression out. We need to be around other men just to hang out. And why do you think it's important that these things that, especially at a time like this, because, you know, mainstream now is like they're defining what a man should be, and it's like everything opposite to what we're used to.
Oh, it's something that's really close to my heart. Like, I am the father of a boy, and I want him to grow up to be a good man. Yeah. And he's going to have aggression in him. He needs to learn how to deal with that positively. It's those sort of things. You can't just say boys shouldn't be aggressive, because that's in there. Yeah. So then if you try and just bottle it up, it'll just get sort of explode, you know. And I've also, with my my mum's worked in youth justice, right, for a long time, and we have a thing called the Henwood Trust, which is basically trying to get successful outcomes for really violent youth offenders. And back in the day, my mum started. Basically, the idea is they want to decouple kids who get into trouble, especially Māori kids, and give it back to the iwi to own, right? So, for instance, you'd have a trust that's run by Māori business people, and the kids go in, there's discipline, and then they have a pathway to a full career, and they get reconnected with the iwi and stuff. Wow. And we started this thing called Te Hirahonga in Hamilton. It was for very violent young offenders. They went in there, had a 0% reoffending rate, and then it got shut down by the national government because they didn't like, you know, people that they think about chucking people in jail and that. Oh, and this is what just really I get passionate about, is a lot of these young kids, is predominantly boys, they're off the rails. Just chucking them in some sort of prison situation is going to make them hook up with criminals and become career criminals. You know, when you've got them at a ripe time to try and get a positive influence on them, you know, and actually provide some pathways, connect them back to the spirituality of the iwi, the people. And I suppose, yeah, just these sort of frustrations get me, because it's very easy to blame people when they don't look at the backstory of why this person has got there, been disenfranchised through systemic racism, through all these things, and then they just chuck them in jail, you know? And then you're just kicking the can down the road rather than actually dealing with these young boys who can still have the chance to grow into really good men. And that's for me. I just want my son to learn how to be a good man, how to treat people properly, how to treat a woman properly, how to communicate, you know, because so much stuff in schools is useless.
Is that it?
You know, like I'm like watching my son in school and go, wouldn't you teach him how to look after a bank account? Wouldn't you teach him
That's cool.
like actual skills that matter? I mean, my son, he's blessed in the fact that I can see he makes friends easy and he can just communicate well. So I'm like, half the battle's done there, mate. But I see some of his other mates in that going, school's not serving them. They should be learning real life skills. How to deal with anger, how to deal with your emotions, all that. So, I mean, we've gone to some pretty deep issues.
It's good. It's good.
Oh man.
Man, you go straight into some
You know
social
what?
injustice.
Yeah.
I'm voting for Dive.
But that's then just, it becomes such a frustration for me when you just see people get into power and everyone just wants to stay in power, so no one ever does anything and everyone just blames other people. And we get into this thing like they want to put young kids in boot camps now, when there's actually been 10 years of global study that boot
doesn't
camps do not work. Yet it sounds sexy because it's all get those bloody kids, mate, in the fatigues and get them marching. You know, no. It's not going to work. And that's why I think things are so important, like rugby clubs, like league clubs, like your activities and stuff. You know, like I see my son can fill up his whole day playing rugby, then ball boys for the Prems, then a crew of them go and watch the Blues play or whatever. And it's a wholesome day, you know, and they've got activities to do. And they hang out and the boys in the Prems are actual... for the club he plays at, are really good role models. They get the ball boys into the sheds afterwards and they celebrate the younger fellas and that. So there's a lot of positivity out there, but I think people could work better and people in power could maybe open their eyes a bit better to what needs to happen.
It's good, man. That's good, Dai.
Would you ever consider running for politics at all in the future?
How stressful would that be? I mean, I like the idea of it. The only thing is I always get that weird feeling of, you know, the people who want to be in power are the people who shouldn't be in power because they just want the power.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I know I'd hate all the admin and that. I'd be, no, let's actually get out there and do something.
Yeah, do something.
You know, rather than, what do you mean I got to have a cup of tea with this? You know, and all that. And I go, what do you mean I got to go to a cheese factory in Te Awamutu and shake everyone's hand, you know? I want to be doing something.
Oh man,
So
Dai,
true.
you're taking us to some real deep issues in terms of social issues and social injustice and justice.
I think it's because I love Aotearoa so much. And I must say the last couple of years is the first time I've actually started to go, we're getting a bit off the rails. Things are getting, really expensive. Like I noticed when we're in Japan, I was like, wow, Japan's real cheap. You know, like if a dinner for four with a drink each is like $48 New Zealand, you know, for a big bowl of ramen and a drink. And then over here, it's no one's wages are going up. Everything's just getting more and more expensive. And I don't quite know what the answer is. I always loved the fact how we would sort of munt around the middle. Like we were never too left wing, we were never too right wing. We sort of listened to each other. But now seeing how things are just getting so divisive and it's really getting into groups, that's what freaks me out.
And you bring a good point because it seems like it's quite divisive now. People are kind of like choosing sides, or they're forced to choose sides and all that kind of stuff. But just going back to what you said in terms of your son, and just as men, young men, and even as adults, just having that camaraderie, but also just being out to outlet, kind of in terms of our aggression, all that kind of stuff. What do you say to people who have a difference of opinions? Who think, oh, nah, and in terms of emasculating men and saying, no, men should be this, like Charles was saying, the media saying men should be this is the way men should be. What do you say to individuals like that? Because people might think, and people might just say, no, unfortunately, you are wrong, Dai, or no, what you guys are talking about is wrong. This is how men should look like and should act like. What do you say to those kind of individuals?
What stresses me out about them and about a lot of people is trying to put people into boxes, of when actually every individual is so different. And there are just these things. Like aggression is a really obvious one, I suppose, because it's like that is just something that is there. And men get aggressive. You have to figure out how to get that out early so it doesn't come out after 6 beers at the pub and you smash someone's head in, because whatever's happened at the pub's not the reason why you're punching that guy. It's all this other stuff that's just bubbled up throughout the week. All those little niggles that people have been giving you, and there aren't these outlets and these sort of honest ways of talking about it. And I think people just need to realise that guys are guys, and guys need to get together more. And they do need to talk more. We're pretty shabby at it. Like I know the amount of times I've caught up with a mate and we've been out. We might have gone fishing for 5 hours, and I get home and I go, hey, my wife will be like, hey, how's Byron's new job going? And I'm like, what? What job? What do you mean, Byron? She's, oh no, Byron and Georgie are moving to Canada, and I'm. What? They're moving to Canada? What do you mean? He go, no, that was your last catch up with Byron before he goes to Canada. And we talked about the Warriors for a bit.
For 5 hours.
We talked about everything. He said, hey man, how's your job going?
So true.
But that's the thing is but then I still feel like I had a great connection with Byron. That's the flip side of it. So it's like, my wife enjoys the detail of it all. That she enjoys the chats and the goss and that, whereas I've really enjoyed just hanging out with Byron. And I don't think anyone's right in that situation, because I found out, it might have been from my wife, but I found out that Byron was going to Canada. And it's different. And that's still... I think because hanging out with your mates honestly and having those laughs with mates that you've known for quite a while just fills your bucket up so much. There's nothing better than those little stupid in-jokes. Just that thing you've been mocking each other about for 10 years. The time you went on a trip and he smashed the beer so no one had anything to drink. Yeah, those little moments of connection are so important. And I think men need to connect more. I actually think men probably need to hug each other a bit more as well, I think men carry a lot of a big burden often and feel a pressure to provide, to be, because there's so many expectations now on every, be a good husband, be a good father, be good at work, still have plenty of time to spend with the kids, plenty of time for date night. All of that can happen. There's very little time for you to fill your own bucket up, and then you can push that further and further down the road. But I think you have to carve out time. You've got to carve out time for yourself. And this is whether you're a man or a woman. You've got to carve out time for yourself. My wife and I realised early on that being alone was really important to both of us. I need time by myself. She needs time by herself. Like, for her, she might want to cruise out and do some op shoppings, her bars and that sort of thing. That fills her bucket up. And for me, I need time. I love just kicking around, listening to tunes, doing a bit of this, bit of that. So you've got to find out what works for you and make sure you put it in the calendar.
Man, well said.
That,
Well
man. We
said,
just
man.
got good. It's stuff that we do, but it's a good masterclass that's coming from the man himself. And I hope our wives are all listening. We don't need all the details. We just want to hang out. So the next time I go ask my wife, I'm going fishing, she knows not to ask me.
Yeah.
So how's things? I go, no, I didn't ask.
Oh, there's always a question. Oh, how's his new wife? New wife? What? I didn't even meet the old one.
So when you're catching up about the Warriors, what are you guys talking about?
Oh, just too deep on the Warriors. Going through everything. I mean, what's been really weird with the cancer diagnosis is rugby league has been what's seen me through. I would structure all my surgeries around rugby league. I would go for a surgery I'd make sure I was on the Thursday afternoon surgery, and then I'd come to for the Thursday night league game, and always, because they'd have you on some pretty heavy drugs. At one point, I thought that I was watching it on an iPad, and I thought they were playing in 3D on my stomach because I was.
That must be the medicinal.
Jamaican healing right there, bro.
It was the medicinal everything. It was the most amazing game I've watched. I was like, oh, Latrell Mitchell's running down the building. But that's what it relaxed me. I found it so comforting. I've watched rugby league since I was a kid, and it was the Winfield Cup back then. And I used to watch that before my rugby games. I'd VHS it and watch it on the Saturday morning. And it's something I love. I just love it because it's what I love about sport is there's so much passion, there's so much emotion, but then it doesn't really matter. The next day, sure, it's a massive bummer if you miss out on the finals or whatever, but it is just sport. And then I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the Warriors boys over the years and actually just seeing how lovely they are. And like I've taken my son out there, and like I think someone like Chance Nickel-Klokstad, he lives around the corner from us. He is the definition of a good man and a good human. And I just love the league community because it's grassroots, it's loose as out at Mount Smart, it's really hectic, but the vibe's positive. There's not. I get more aggro from old white guys at an All Black game than you do out at Mount Smart because it's just it's a real carnival atmosphere. And I've been taking my son out there since he was 3. He learned to swear out there.
In all languages?
Oh yeah, pretty much. We walked out. He was 3 years old, and he just looked me in the eye and he goes, "Dad, so glad we beat those fucking Roosters." And I looked at him. I couldn't tell him off because he said it perfectly. I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Oh, the guy behind us," and I was, "Yeah, I know who that is." So it was just that's been such a huge part of my life, and it makes me so happy. And now the fact that I can commentate it, and we've got our own Sky channel, and we've got a little commentary box out at Mount Smart, it's come full circle.
Mate.
Who's the hardest last name to pronounce?
It was Tino Fa'asu Ma'alawi.
Big Tino. Big Tino.
Big Tino. You know, that's what all the the pronunciation thing. How the Australians.
You tell me, bro.
So
Especially the rugby commentators.
So I had a mate of mine. He, off his own back, did a Google Doc with every single league player's name spelt phonetically and him pronouncing it.
Wow.
And he sent it to them, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, you know, they'll say, T-Moko. Can you not just say Tomoko, you know?
Timoko.
T-Moko.
They butcher some of those names. They butcher some of those names.
Blocker Roach with Tino. He went Tino fa fa. He sounded like he was DJing. He's Tino fa 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 fa. Big Tino fa fa. I was like, dude, what are you remixing his name on the fly?
Blocker Roach. Oh man.
But the thing is, what I think is, what annoys me in that is that's that low level of disrespect.
Yeah.
And when you start with a low level of disrespect, you're getting off on such a bad foot with anyone. And it saddens me. Australia is a different buzz. I was filming in the Outback for a month and a half, right? We shot a show called Roll a Die where we'd get a dice, meet people, they'd write where we should go, we'd roll it, and whatever it landed on would go there. And we were filming with a guy who did musical outreach programs to Aboriginal communities in the desert. So we would stay with them, drop off musical instruments, meet them and so forth. He was a white guy, but he'd been skinned into Aboriginal tribe. So he had his own name, he had his own like dot painting and everything. He was fully accepted. And whenever you said that name, they would know he was one of the boys. We were staying on this like cattle station, and this guy goes, this white Aussie farmer guy goes, "Hey, come down and see the jail where I keep my black fellas, mate." And we're like, what? And he goes, "No, come down here." And he goes, "Oh, you guys are freaking out. I haven't used this since the 90s, mate." And we're like, since the 90s? Like, he'd have Aboriginal fellas in a jail, and he'd be working them like slaves, right? In like the early 90s.
Jeez.
We then were taking a couple of what was really weird is I was sort of using the term Aboriginal, and they'd go, "Nah, you call me, I'm a black fella, you're a white fella. I'm a black fella. I don't like because Aboriginal was the name that was put on to them." So we're going out for dinner. We're about to go into this bar. Cop comes, gets his gun out, and goes, "Those black boys aren't drinking with you, mate. They're not allowed in here." And we're like, no, and they're coming in with us, mate. We're staying with them. And he's, "No, they know where they drink, mate." And, you know, coming from a New Zealand perspective, that's like, wow. Imagine if a cop, like New Zealand's got its issues, but imagine if a cop was rocking that over here. That would be front page. There would be protests in the street, right? And so this level of racism in Australia, like I had never been exposed to that. Like, sure you see it, and seeing it, like you see little bits and bobs, but seeing like it that overt and hard out was just like a shock to the system. But it also explained to me, I was like, oh, that's what the issue is there. It's deep. It's deep. And the saddest thing is we're trying to film a comedy show and all these events were happening and we were like, this is just so depressing. This is so depressing.
Goodness. What year was that, Dai?
We were filming 2006.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's so sad. Now when I see the stances that like the proud Indigenous league players like Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker and that take, I see it through a bit of a different lens. Like I actually see the hell that them and their mobs went through and do go through, and that just horrendous, overt racism, you know? And it's just, I still can't believe, I've never understood racism, and it's just, I find it so, I can't believe that we haven't just got over stuff. Yeah. I was lucky enough to, like, I'm a Pākehā guy. I was lucky enough I went to a real multicultural school. My parents always had friends from all around the globe and that. So I've been lucky in that respect. And but even now you see it with people who suddenly, like, I live in Avondale. We've my wife and I have always believed you kids go to the local school where you live, because then that reflects the community that you live in. But then I noticed a few people I know suddenly became Catholic, so they'd send their kids to a white school. You know, it's like, you were Catholic before there, bro. And it's just sad. It's sad, and that's when I get back to that where I think New Zealand's going. I find that really sad with that divisive thing, because I mean, the one thing the current government's actually done is unify Māori, I suppose, without trying to. Completely against them, but I just thought that these sort of issues were issues that I feel we should have solved.
We should have evolved past
this. Yeah, evolved's a better term.
Hey, I mean,
because we just live in, look at how beautiful this country is. You go around Avondale, that's what I love about our local school. There's no dominant culture. You know, you've got Somali, Indian, Ethiopian, we've got Afghanistan, all of the Pacific Islands, Maori. It's how I look at it from a point of view of how cool for a kid to grow up. My daughter's best friend has just come from Afghanistan, so when the play date happening, my daughter's friend's got to translate to the mum, because I can't talk to the mum because she doesn't speak English yet. The daughter has grasped it really quickly. But how cool that my daughter gets fully exposed to Afghanistan food. And, you know, like, I look at it as it's awesome, because I've always loved food. So I'm in for any culture's food.
I love that. And, you know, I know that conversation started from just pronouncing of names, and, you know, for Pasifika, for, you know, especially when a Parangi says your name right, there's so much value and so much pride that comes with that. Like, me knowing that you would say my surname right just makes me, like, really connected to, and so, like, I honor that. Like, I know for others it might seem, oh, it's just a name, but man, there's so much history and so much, like, and so much pride around the name we carry and the ancestors that come with us. So when someone mentions our last name correctly, man, that's the biggest respect that we could get. And so, you know, I feel for those Pasifika Australian players, or even the Indigenous, when someone's mispronouncing their names, like, oh, stuff this. And, you know, we always had to, like, change our names to make it fit for others. And, you know, so yeah, I'm just saying.
It's also not hard.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's where I think it falls into disrespect.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard. You can make a mistake once. I think the Aussies always get into the apostrophe, like papali'i or suali'i, and that's suali'i.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not, all it takes is just a couple of seconds. And to me now, as a doing commentary, I'm like, no, your job is literally to say their names correctly. Like, you know, you pride yourself on pronouncing your French right, you know? So it's, you notice, you can see it often when players are being interviewed, and you can hear it, and you just see the eye roll. Because it's like I mean, it's endless, and the sad thing is it doesn't seem to be getting better, and that's why I love when you see people like over here, like your Monty Beethams and that, they put some effort in, The Kiwis, pretty much all Kiwi commentators put some effort in.
Yeah, that's so good.
And if I get it wrong, I'll get it wrong, but you can tell I've been trying, if you know what I mean. Like you can tell I've actually had a proper go at it. And I love getting it wrong and getting corrected. And I'm always, I reckon this goes for pretty much any culture, that if you're on, like, because I've had to speak on maraes, and I try my hard. I'd love to be able to speak fluent today, but I'm sort of trying. It's something for me is a thing I'm learning. But I had to speak like in front of a iwi chairs meeting, which is like the head of every iwi is there, and then our representative wasn't there, so they chucked me up there and gave me his notes. And he was an elder, prominent Māori man, so he was going deep, and I got up there and I completely stuffed it up, but I stuffed it up with respect. If that, I tried my ass off, and I felt so bad, and I apologised so much, but I got the opposite of needing to apologise, because they'd all seen how uncomfortable I was and how much I was trying, and I think that makes a big difference.
Effort.
It's like in Japan, if I can't fully communicate, I will try to speak Japanese first, and then they'll end up going, look, you're a shambles, let's just talk English. But the fact that I've tried means the interaction is so much better and so much more respectful. And I just think it comes down to respect. People need to give more respect to each other, you know?
Love that.
That's so cool. That's so cool, Dai. Man, but we've just, I tell you what, Dai, you're a well-rounded individual in terms of what we're talking about. We just talked about, obviously, of culture, racism, we got social injustice, all that kind of stuff, all thrown into the mix. And I love it that you are very well-rounded in terms of what you've done, in terms of sports, all that kind of stuff. But just as a comedian, because you can use all that stuff. And some people, obviously got all these issues, all these things that we can't, sometimes we can cancel you out, and people can't say this. But as a comedian, because sometimes, I don't know, maybe, and you would have a greater insight, as a comedian, in this day and age, are you able to how do you navigate around some of those issues and social issues and things, and there's some of those hot topics that people are not privy to be outspoken about, but you are able as a comedian to kind of say these things, but still people laugh about it.
So I actually reckon there isn't cancel culture, right? It's just, when you say something, it has consequences, you know? And my thing is, I will back anything I say because I believe I have a good moral compass. I know I'm not sexist, homophobic or racist, so I'm not going to say anything. So if anything is said, it is fully with a bit of cheek. And I would never say anything unless people understood that. I think sometimes people say things and say, oh, you can't say anything these days just because they're a bit of a wanker. Actually, they're just not a nice person. So the thing is, I think I've never felt I can't say anything. But also, I won't talk about... I suppose I won't get into topics. In comedy, there's a thing, punching up and punching down. It's like, if you're punching up, i.e. you're mocking someone who's higher status than you, that's cool. It's funny. But if you're mocking someone who's lower status than you, then that's when it gets ugly, you know? So I always sort of think of it, and that if you're mocking an oppressed culture... there's nothing funny in that, you know? Whereas you can take the piss out of the King of England. He's done his fair share of bad shit over the years. And I think if you're honest to your values, then you can say anything. And I think sometimes maybe with the internet and that, there is a bit of a scene of where people might go to something wanting to be offended, and people get the joy out of getting offended. And now I can get online and say this guy's been saying this, and this has been doing this. And then you see, it's like Dave Chappelle will often get into trouble with stuff. And then if you actually watch his whole thing, it's all in context. But people take out a tiny little line and they use that line, whereas they don't put it in the whole 3-minute bit in which he was actually making another point. And yeah, I mean, things have changed a lot. I came through, my first comedy albums were a dub tape of Eddie Murphy's Delirious. Like, got just a cassette tape. It wasn't even a VHS. And just, when I was young, just hearing some of the most horrific things you heard. And I sort of, my early love was always around a lot of Black American comedy of Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock. And when you mentioned Just for Laughs, which I did over in Montreal, I was on the same bill as this guy, JB Smoove. He is in Curb Your Enthusiasm as Leon Black.
That dude.
He's real lispy. Come on, Larry. And I've never met a funnier human being in real life. He was just on the whole time. And this is before he'd done Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I was just over there, and there were these just amazing acts everywhere. And I'd been invited to perform there, and it was just such a trip. And, as a Kiwi, you're sort of, whereas Americans, I'm the goddamn best comedian you're ever going to see. Whereas Kiwis, I'm okay, mate. I'm pretty good, I think. Well, he said I was pretty good.
Oh, this is cool. That's cool.
So it was that whole experience was awesome. Because I came through in a time in comedy when New Zealand comedy, it wasn't very cool to be a comedian. It was like, we've had Billy T, we don't need any more. And there was Mike King, he was doing well, and Ewan Gilmore. Sort of, they had it sewn up. You got your Westie Pakeha and your Māori guy, and we don't need any others. And it was real hard. So the fact that I kept going, I don't know why I did. It was just sort of, I love making people laugh, and then it sort of went from strength to strength, thankfully.
Because you've rubbed shoulders with a lot of amazing people, obviously in the comedy and also in television. And also, I remember you did a TED Talk as well.
Yeah.
Mate, people were just wanting you left, right and centre. Tell us about your TED Talk as well.
Well, there was sort of, in a way, it was about failure, because failure has been very important to me. Over the years, some of the biggest things I've done, I've failed at. Like, I went to the Edinburgh Festival after I won the Billy T Award. I was staying with a Flight of the Conchords in the year that they shot. Yep. In the year when they got a BBC radio show and an American TV show. I was living with them. I grew up with Brett from Flight of the Conchords. We were living together. I was cancelling shows and they were adding more shows. I was just in tears on the side of the bed, and he came in and sat next to me, and sort of he boosted up my morale. And it was the hardest thing. I lost, I'd invested all this money. I lost 15 grand. I had to come back to New Zealand with my sort of tail between my legs. My Mum had financed me a bit of money. I had to pay her back, and it was just rugged. And then I don't know why I kept going, but that failure just, it actually strengthened me. And then when I started doing well, I just had this touch point of, wow, I got to the rock bottom, but I kept doing, I changed my act, I worked harder, I did this. Because I was in, how's this for 2 nights in a row? My opening night in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Festival, sold out 100 odd people. It wasn't a huge venue, 100 odd people. Standing ovation. Second night, 30 people in. 10 minutes into the show, 26 of them walk out and there's 4 left. Then the other 2 walk out, there's 2 left. One of them's an old guy. I go, hey, mate. I stopped the show and just went, hey, how come you stayed? And he goes, I'm a New Zealander. Your last name's Henwood. I think I went to school with your mum in Taranaki.
Oh, mate.
Is she Carolyn Henwood? And I went, yep. And he went, oh, cheers. And he got up and buggered off.
Oh, mate.
And the other guy was just a pissed mate of the lighting tech.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, it was... I think your journey to success is often through failure and through these downs and that thing of not giving up. If you know it's the thing that you want to do, don't give up.
That's so cool. That's so cool. What a cool story, because it is. I think a lot of people kind of dismiss adversity. Think, oh, I don't ever want to face that kind of, the hardship or struggles. But it's in the valley when you kind of, when you extract all the things that don't need to be there, and you kind of push through. That's what it is, Dai. You push through, and then you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and what you envisioned or what you wanted to achieve, it happens. But I think it's important for us to go through those hard times, and some people want to avoid those hard times. And so, mate, after all those shows, how did you feel after all that? Because you would have felt like, man, just demoralized.
Demoralized, broke, hungover, sort of all of the things. And I just remember coming back to New Zealand going, what am I going to do? I was doing character comedy at the time. Then I came back and I was like, I'm just going to be myself on stage. I worked up an act. I started doing new material. Then I sort of pushed through, and a couple of years later I was doing a random gig on a Monday night. There was C4 Music TV back then. The guy who ran it came in. He said, I just saw you on stage. Do you want a show? And I went, yeah. And he went, okay, you start next week. What? This is Mikey. He's going to edit it and shoot it. And then sort of there's a real cool group of us. There's old DJ Severe, myself, Clark Gayford, Jackie Brown, who I just wrote this book with, Siobhan Ruakiri. And we just had so much fun, just making TV, mucking around, telling jokes. And then I brought more comedians into it. And it was a really exciting time.
Jeez. Mate, and then in terms of comedy now, because I'd be interested to hear, I'm just thinking, because in your time of comedy, have there ever been hecklers throughout your show? People who just kind of trying to heckle you? Or
I think people don't realise that comedians have enough things to say. Pardon me. I've had, generally hecklers are pretty good, right? Someone will chip something in and you can go back. But I had this dude, so I used to cut fruit, like work at a fruit store where you trim the broccoli and all that. And there's me and this guy called Colin, who was massive. He's this big Tongan boy, the biggest dude I reckon I've ever seen. With a classic Tongan name, Colin. and he came along. I hadn't seen him in years, right? And he was quite pissed. And he just thought he'd be my hype guy. So whenever I finished a joke, I'd just do a joke, and then yeah, man, yeah, Dai, that's it, bro, that's it. It's Dai, man. He's like a crown, picking it up and putting it down. He's like doing his own.
Oh, no.
He was pissed in the corner doing his own show. And everyone was like, who's that? And no one was, I mean, he was a weapon as well. No one's going to go over and talk to Colin.
Oh my goodness.
And halfway through the show, because he just kept putting me off and putting me off, I was looking over there, I was like, there's Colin. And I was like, because I saw him, I haven't seen, I recognise that dude. And I was like, I haven't seen him for about 10 years. There's Colin. So then I had to awkwardly, because he's on my side, you know, you can't rip into him because he's like, yeah. And then and he's doing all these like crown, he's doing all these weird little things, and then I was like, hey, Colin, man. That is Colin. He was, yeah, it's Colin. Remember the broccoli? Oh. And so I was like, bro, let's dial it down and we can catch up after the show.
Oh man, hard case,
That
man.
is hard case.
It's been awkward, man.
Oh, so because that's the worst heckler is when they're fully on your side.
Oh yeah.
I like that line.
Yeah.
He's a crown.
Yeah,
Putting it up.
picking it up and putting it down.
That was a good one.
Oh, I had to give him credit. He should have been on stage. He had all the lines.
It's so good, but it's he's in the audience. That's so awkward.
Yeah, because also everyone else is like, oh, we've paid money to come in. This dude's just on his own.
Oh boy,
It
you
was just like he was doing a show at the same time I was doing a show.
that's what you say. Hey, toko.
Yeah.
Oh mate.
What tips would you give to budding comedians nowadays?
It's
Have a hype, man.
yeah.
Have a Colin.
I'll give you Colin's number. I think the thing is, if you know unfortunately with stand-up, you can be funny at parties. Everyone's got the funny mate, you know. But until you actually get up on stage and do it, that's when you know whether you can do it or not. And you might, the first few times might be pretty average, but you'll get a feeling whether you can do it. And you should you've got to do quite a few gigs. And the thing is, you've just got to, if someone wanted to get into comedy, I'd recommend you ring up the Classic Comedy Club on Queen Street there if you're in Auckland. There's a couple in Wellington. And they have like a raw night where you can go along and just do 5 minutes. Everyone on the bill's doing it for the first time, except the MC. And just book it, and then you go, right, in 3 weeks I've got to do this. Get your material and get up and just go for it. Go for it, and you never know. You don't know how it's going to go, and it is the scariest thing. Because I think of stand-up as the most honest art form, right? You can go to an art gallery and you can look at a painting and, oh, yeah, that's very nice. And you can go to a theatre show or a dance show and, you know, politely clap at the end and tell everyone how wonderful it is. You can't fake laugh. You can't fake laugh for an hour. So you know immediately. And, like, I've been on telly, right? So when I come out, I might get a bit of a cheer, like, hey, is that dude? But that only buys you, people recognising you, only buys you a couple of minutes. If you're not funny, they're like, oh, that dude from telly's not very funny. You know, like, you've just got to get out there and do it. And what I love about comedy is there's such a cool random scene that's brought everyone in. Like you got gigs from like the classic comedy and bar there. Got there's comedian Hector Dawson. He started gigging his garage in Manuriwa.
Wow.
You got Bubba, who's Tina from Turners.
Oh, yes.
She's doing gigs with her backyard, and you got a few Black Power guys on the door. So you got. It's such a cool, diverse scene at the moment, and you can go throughout a week and gig at all these places. I could do a huge theatre, and then I'm in some dude's garage, and that's what I love about it. Because what I love about comedy is no one does it for the money. They do it because they love making people laugh. So often a gig that doesn't pay that much will actually be the gig that I enjoy doing the most. I wouldn't go and do a gig in a garage in Manuriwa thinking I'm going to earn $10,000. You know what I mean? So you go and do it to
get the reaction, to get people
to get the reaction. I haven't done that gig yet, actually. So I'm not sure I might pay $10,000. But I'm looking forward to doing it. And that's the thing is there's so many different rooms around the country, and I do small pubs. Then I did the State Opera House in Wellington and sold that out, and I got a standing ovation on 3 levels, and it just was the most amazing thing ever. I'm doing a show in Sky City in July, beginning of July, and then at the Isaac Royal, which is this beautiful theatre down in Otatahi, Christchurch. So I feel so blessed that this is my job, and it's something that I've been able to support my family through, and I've also been able to show my kids that hey, you don't have to go down the railway tracks. There are different options.
Man, well done, man, Dai.
I know.
Well
I love that. The thing about comedy is you talk for a living. You're on stage and there's a microphone and you're just talking, and you've managed to provide for your family doing something like that. It's the most amazing thing. I think it's incredible.
I suppose the weird thing that can get into your head though is you go, this is a pretty arrogant job. I've got a mic and I'm funnier than any of you guys. It's you can't think about it too much. But also what I love is just, it's so cool when you build up a set and then you see how different people react to it around the country.
I was just going to ask, what's your process like? Do you write all your material at once and you go and try it out and take out bits, or what works for you?
I get ideas around jokes and then I like to play with them on stage a bit. I'm a little bit more fluid. I sort of have my set, but I play around. I'm not so much a writer. Like I do write, and I've sort of got a process for writing. Like if I'm stuck, right? Say if I'm stuck and I go, well, I want to write a joke about the zoo, I'll do A to Z and then do a word for every letter that relates to the zoo. Like A, aardvark, B, there's bathrooms at the zoo, C, cheetah, So go through that, and then then you've got 26 ideas there. I could write a gag about any of those things. Then I'd dial in on it, on one of those letters, then do another A to Z on that, and that's when you start coming up with funny words, different ideas, because that's the thing of you just need to keep moving rather than sit there and go, what do I write?
How do I be funny?
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's the thing is, being funny, when you're funny, it's when you're relaxed, it's when you hang out, you don't want to be tense, and that's why comics who start out often get up and what they're actually got to say is funny, but they're nervous and they're just sort of reading it out quite quickly as though it's written on an invisible piece of paper and they're reading it out like that. And they don't have, because delivery and passion and your attitude, your sort of character, if you will, is so much. And you never know exactly what's going to be funny. Like something that this comes back to me so much. I've got a great mate called Tavita, he's a stand-up. He goes out on stage. He does like a 15-minute set. He's got this like huge umbrella with him, like that you put in a table, right? He stands there holding this umbrella and does a 15-minute set. I'm emceeing. He finishes. He's walking up the stairs, and I walk past him, and I just hear him go, "Oh, I didn't do the joke about the umbrella."
No.
But to the audience, it was so funny. This dude was holding this massive umbrella and didn't mention it for 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And so he thought he had stuffed up, but it was actually a stroke of genius.
Jeez.
That is our case, man. It's subjective, eh? I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It really is subjective.
Oh, and that's the thing is, comedy is not. That's why it's real hard if often people come up and they'll be like, "Hey, loved your set. Oh, they were pretty shit. They were very good." And it's like, man, no, you didn't enjoy them, but they were getting heaps of laughs. You know, it is subjective. So I think people do have to be careful. You know, and I don't often like that thing if people feel. Just say I had a good set. You don't have to bring someone down. You know what I mean? But it's a real human nature thing. I'll tell you who I didn't like as well. But
Is that common? Does that happen?
yeah, I often go, "Oh yeah, I didn't like them," but and you're like, "Oh, but they're my friend." And their comedy, I might not like their comedy, but I can appreciate that they're a good comedian. So, yeah, that's the beautiful thing. Comedy's the same as music, you know. Some people like country music, some people like hip hop. You know? So that's the thing. And there are, in all the genres, there are the top that shine through, you know, and like people, whatever music they like, they know they're good. And that's the same with comedy.
Jeez. And the proof is in the pudding, Dai, because you've won all the awards.
Yeah.
You've won all the awards. So you're the best male comedian. And so people, they're digging. They love what you do in terms of your stand-up comedy and all that. So
yeah, I've been very lucky, and sort of, I suppose I've just stayed honest to what I do, and I've sort of got my crowd out there, and that's cool. And I've got quite a broad crowd, which is awesome. And it's always cool going around the country and seeing parents who now have teenagers who bring them along to a comedy gig, and they see me and that dude, that coddle's pretty funny, and I'm like, hey, I'm not that old. Easy, Tiger. But now, I think because when I came through, I was always the young guy. I was always like maybe 8 to 10 years younger than the people I came through with. So I was used to being the young guy. I started when I was 17, and now I'm like, oh, it's like generations under me, and I'm the mid-40s guy now. But I love that because you can't change reality, so you've just got to love reality, you know. And that's the thing. It's I think people in a lot of areas get too down on themselves and too negative because they haven't felt that they've achieved enough. They haven't felt that they're doing well enough. But you are enough, and you always have been enough. So sit in that and send yourself some love.
That's awesome.
There's some wisdom right there.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Just listening to you talk and giving us these little tips. I think that might be one of my bucket lists to just try.
Go on stage.
Go on stage. Yeah.
3-5 minute set.
Yeah.
For those that are...
3 minutes feels real long.
I was going to say, 5 minutes seems so long.
And I hate planning stuff. Like, you know, I might be funny around a table or amongst family, and they go, "Oh, can you come and talk and MC this?" But when I'm trying to plan something and I write it down, I botch it every time. So I'll be like, "Oh yeah, sweet," and I just rock up and then just off the cuff, but I can't like.
No, but
have
that's
a,
the thing is if you have a couple of ideas,
yeah. That's what I
and
was
that
like,
might be your style, you know, where you go, right, this is the sort of, you know, where you often go, there's a line I want to say, but I don't quite know how I'm going to get there. And for me, my skill set is digging a bit of a hole, then trying to get out of it. That's when I'm freestyling like that, that's when I'm sort of at my best and stuffing up, but just holding it together. But I reckon give it a try because it's such a rush.
there'll be a bucket list then.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You should do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Do it. Hopefully, we still got the podcast weekend.
just dig a hole and just keep digging a hole.
and then
call up Colin.
someone record it, then do a podcast where you break it down line by line. Okay, here's where you went wrong. Oh, they weren't with you there.
We'll get you in, bro. We'll get you in.
Just analysis like where they do on sports, where you would just pause that.
If it doesn't work,
Yeah. You can see in his eyes.
It's at this point when he.
Completely.
Oh man.
How have you found doing comedy? Because you've been doing it for a long time. You're obviously, for New Zealand, definitely top comedian in New Zealand. How has that helped your career outside of comedy? Like just those skills you learned, maybe being able to talk on the cuff, being well spoken. How has that helped you on other things, doing filming?
Huge. Because for me, I went from sort of loose, straight, just doing stand-up. Getting on TV, then got on 7 Days. And then I got Family Feud, which suddenly is 5:30. We've got like people from all around the country coming. And that was a real eye-opener, man. Like, it gave me the skill to talk with people, right? And the difference is you got Family Feud in America. Americans, they are just like, yeah, I'm the best. You go, hey, so you're into swimming? Yeah, I swim better than anyone in the world. We had this family on. They come down from Whangarei, real quietly spoken, you know. In fact, I had to, when we were doing the rehearsal, I had to keep going, hey, you can't just keep raising your eyebrows. You're going to have to talk. You're going to have to talk. And this girl, I had an earpiece in and I'd have one thing written down. So it'd be talk to her about swimming. So I'm like, hey, you're into swimming? And she's, yeah, but and I was like, I was about to move on. They went, no, keep talking about swimming. So do you compete? Oh, you know. But like you have competed, eh? Oh yeah, so sort of me. It turned out she'd broken 32 New Zealand records in her age group. You know, and just the most understated. If there was an American,
yeah,
they would have ripped their shirt off. They would have had their medals. You know, so that was where the skill came in, because it was like just being able to draw stories out of people, and also being able to take the piss, but without being mean, which I think is a skill that it's a real, this whole end of the world, Aussies, Kiwis, Samoan, Tongan, we love taking the piss out of each other, but without being mean, you know, just where you're not sticking the knife in, you're just having a laugh. And so I was really good at that, and that's because I'd learned how to do that through stand-up comedy, and then I could bring it to 5:30. And Family Feud, I remember when we just had average Kiwis on the show, and when we gave away our first car to this whānau, who'd won like 20 grand and got a car, and just seeing in their eyes what that meant, that was almost like one of the biggest moments for me in my TV career. Even though it wasn't something I'd done, it was just being a part of that, and I go, how cool is this? One TV show, that's really changed the game for these people, you know. They had a big family wedding that they were going to, that before that only one of them was going, and now they could afford to take the whole crew over. And it was just like, it made me feel so good, and it was super cool. I loved doing that show, and we did 500 odd episodes of that, and it was just such a joy.
Mate.
500 episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like, because we're on every night, and we had weeks off, but we were on every night for 2.5 years, I think.
Did that get hard at some point? Were there days where you were like, or was it always a blessing? You always walked in grateful and ready to go?
It got hard when you had 4 dudes from Gisborne who were blazed out of their brains. Who just kept saying to me, hey, was I wearing this league jersey? Was I wearing this league jersey in the last episode, mate? I said, you wearing that league jersey? You haven't changed. They'd just look at me.
Oh my God.
You know, and just like their answers were just out of the gate. Like, name something you'd find in a tree. Oh, probably if you're in Gisborne, like a lion or something. I'm like, there's no lions in Gisborne, dude.
So what did you do, Dai? How did you manage that?
I just gave them a rope and they hung themselves. It was one of the funniest episodes. They're just these 4... because they were great in the first episode, then they decided to go out and have a session in between episodes, which was the worst idea. It would have been great if they were just hanging out, but then when the lights came on, they were like, oh, this is full of...
Bad idea. They want to regret it.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
You want to ask the question, do it. Yeah.
He was the guy who gave us the classic answer that was name something that supports you, and he just immediately went wins.
Oh, mate.
Oh, that's hard case, man.
No, they were, and I loved doing that show, because my thing is I think through doing stand up, through the TV shows I've done, just interacting with everyday Kiwis is where my skill set was, and I've always loved interviewing loose units. You know, we did a whole show early on where we sort of met all these homeless rappers and just did one show showcasing homeless rappers, which was just amazing. We'd just go down and hang out with these cats on Queen Street, and then they'd just do these epic freestyles and stuff. And thinking back on it, it was just stuff no one else would do. And you'd just meet the most honest people. Whereas like I was saying, like, there was never an element of being mean to these people. They were having a laugh and we were having a laugh, but we weren't. It was that punching down thing. We weren't mocking them because they were actually pretty good, you know, and we're paying them for their time. And so now it's thinking back, we've done some pretty cool things over the years.
Chew, Hana, you've done so much.
Look forward to your podcast coming up. It'll be so cool. Just you, mates, inviting different people, and just how you're chatting tonight. Like, there's so much wisdom, so much wit. There's a lot of old school wisdom that you share that seems abnormal today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you were to do one, and I know you got so many other cool projects, you know, it would be just cool to dial in.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah. Jeez.
Comedians, I reckon, make the best podcasters. So much fun. I mean, this is what you do already for a living.
No, but that's the thing, is there's so many, like, that's what I love when I'm on a road trip or driving. There's now you can just dial in on so many different podcasts. And if you want something a bit serious, you can have that. If you want someone who's just talking rubbish, and that's the thing is, when you get two good comics together who really sort of riff off each other. Like, I'm really enjoying that guy, Theo Von. I don't know.
He's good. He's good.
Him and Bobby Lee and sort of those sort of people.
He seems like a character. It almost like
he's a great example who falls into the category of comic who is so smart, but he acts perfectly dumb. Yeah. He knows exactly what he's doing, but he's just so left field. And I love that because he grew up as that sort of white trash sort of things, and no, he's just his stand up is just amazing. As well. I still just love. For me, I actually find stand up hard to watch, like Netflix specials and that, because I think I love live stand up. There's something so electric about it. There's something just so, it's different. It might be similar material, but it's different every night because it hits differently with the audience. And so I love just being in a room. There's nothing better than being backstage talking rubbish with comics before you go on, because we're all very similar people. No matter where you came from, we're all very similar people. So it's sort of a real common thread.
So cool, Dai. Well, describe for us, Dai. Describe, because I want to know, like, in terms of when they call out your name, you got to come up on stage. Describe for us how do you the zone and the flow and how you kind of feel when you kind of on stage.
Nervous. I'm always nervous before I go up, but I think for me that is showing that's respect. I respect the gig. I respect the fact these people have paid money, so I want to be good. I used to throw up before every gig, like for about 4 years.
damn.
And so it was awesome when I was at the Classic because I knew the quickest way to get to the toilet. I knew all that. It was harder when I was in random pubs and that. But I'm always nervous. I'm pretty dialed in. And the nerves remain until I get my first laugh. And then it's like, here we go. You know? So it's nice having, I'll often like to have something strong to start and strong to close.
Man, that's so cool.
I remember that when I do my 2 minute.
Yo, gee.
Yeah, man, that's man.
You got to do it. I'll bring Colin along.
Oh man, Dai, it's just been an absolute pleasure, brother. It has been just the
thanks
whole
for having me.
Just having you, just been awesome in terms of just your ability to share, but also just to be upfront and honest.
Yeah.
I think people come with expecting a podcast. People think, okay, we just quite surface stuff, but you've been sharing some
But
deep
you've
stuff.
got to be. This is something that has also come out of my cancer journey. Is you've got to be honest, man. Yeah. I think people dance around stuff and just be a bit fluffy. You just got to be honest. And I think if you are honest in your interactions with people, then you will get respect from that. And that's the thing is, if you are doing stand-up, just be like honest as well. Like get up, because people love stuff they can relate to.
Me. Cool. Remember that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Can't wait. We're going to hold you to it, Charles. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm coming along.
Yeah,
Tell me when he's doing it.
Dai's going to come.
I expect the crown line.
The crown line in the audience?
Yeah, the audience. That'll be cool.
Absolutely.
Nah, man, real mindful of your time and just really honoured that we get to chop it up with you.
Thanks.
You know, we then throw around the word uso quite loosely, and tonight we've made a uso anew, and we on my behalf, I'm really grateful to have met you.
Oh, thank you.
Just real genuine, so much, such a lot of, like, a wealth of knowledge, and just the different stuff you've got into, and I'm just really excited what this next chapter is for you. Just your journey, like living. It's quite contagious when you hear someone that's sharing about how much they're embracing life in every moment and just being intentional about their connections and prioritizing what they value, and just sitting with you and getting to know a little bit about your background. And we resonate a lot with what you're passionate about, like your frustrations around the justice system. A lot of, like me, I've done youth mentoring for youth offenders, and so just hearing your family's work around youth justice, it gives me hope, and so proud that we got people in our corner that really trying to make a difference. And regardless of what's happening in the political scene, like I always say, man, stuff those guys, same bird, different wing.
Yeah.
You know, different wing, same bird, but we got to make that change. And you and your family are a perfect example of that.
But we can
Yeah.
make that change,
Yeah.
and people can change.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is what Mum's driving, and with these people, we want to do it regardless of the government.
Yeah.
It's a thing of decoupling it from the government and actually making purposeful change, because government only cares about getting elected in the next few years. You, on the ground, you can make change. You can make change in your own community. You know, you can, like I've seen just how much local people in Avondale investing their time in Avondale, often not their money, their time, and creating events and creating a community. We've got the loose units in Avondale, but we all hang out in Avondale so we know who the loose units are.
Yeah.
You know? So I think I completely hear that, and I think people just need to get more engaged and get more. And also remember that everyone is going through their own dramas. I think people should be a bit less quick to judge and to jump on people. You know, you don't know why they're having a bad day. You don't know all the stress that's on their back. So just give people a bit of love, I think. My thing is, I think we can fix a lot of issues in the world with love, and that starts with loving yourself. And I think actually there's a lot of people out there, especially men, who don't love themselves enough and respect themselves enough. So take some time to work on yourselves out there, dudes. You know? So just sit quietly and love yourself, man. It sounds a bit sexual to me. Incognito brother.
So when my wife walks in, I'm like, hey, Dai said you love myself, man.
I love myself. Oh, Dai.
man.
That's a good Dai.
But yeah, man, thank you, brother.
Yeah. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been awesome. It really is an honor to meet. We've seen you for years, and so meeting you in person, having a convo with you, you have so much to offer, and it'd be cool to be able to run it back at some point, get you back on.
Oh, I'd love to.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you know you got an open chair with us.
Anytime
Yeah.
if you ever passing
We'll
through.
do a part two.
I know.
But you have so much to offer. If there's one thing that's resonated with me, and I hope the viewers out there really hear it, with the way you took your diagnosis of cancer, and how you said your eyes were open, and it made you love more. Like it's weird. Like you talked about embracing failure, but you talked about just the way that it opened your eyes to loving the moment and loving and being present and what's really important in life. And I hope that all of us out here and those watching can experience that without having to wait for a diagnosis. You know what I mean? We don't have to wait for the life-altering event. We are enough now, and I hope that your messages really just resonate with some of the viewers. So thanks for sharing that, bro. And awesome, man. Awesome.
Oh man, shop bread. But Dai, thank you once again, brother. Thank you so much also for tonight, and just what the guys have said. Just a wealth of knowledge, and obviously people think, oh, comedians. But I tell you, comedians are very highly intelligent. You're a very, very highly intelligent man, but also very humble. And also, I love it that you said early on that even throughout the diagnosis and the cancer, that you said it's about living life in the midst of adversity.
Yeah.
And the hope is that a lot of us who are going through stuff, and a lot of men who are, or people in general going through some stuff, even in the midst of adversity, there's always hope. And then we just push through, like you said, in terms of your comedy journey, push through. And so, brother, you've done so much thus far, but we wish you all nothing but the best. Nothing but the best in 2024 for you, and obviously with your family and all that stuff. So, brother, bless you. Thank you once again for gracing the table and the brothers. But we do have a gift for you. We always have a bit of a caricature, a cartoon. We always do a cartoon of how we envision the guest to be.
Oh, awesome.
And so this is on behalf of the team also. This is for you, my friend.
Oh, that is good.
Mate,
That is good.
Mate, thank you so much.
This is going on the bedroom roof. I mean, this is going.
Is it when you're on the bedroom when you love yourself? Is it?
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate your time.
Honoured. It's been honoured to spend some time with you boys.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks,
but Dai, is there anyone that you can think of that would be awesome to come on the podcast?
I can think of so many good people. I tell you, have you do you guys know Joey Damon?
Yes, we had him.
You already had him on?
We've had him.
He's cool.
He's a hard
awesome.
case.
Yeah, he's hard case. He's awesome.
He's
awesome.
a hard case. I did mention to you before recording Monty Beetham, and I think I'll chuck in a word for you. He'd be good to have.
Oh, awesome, man. That'd be cool.
He's got a lot. I used to. He was very generous with his time, and when I was sort of quite unfit, I trained with him and became quite close with him. And he's someone I look at as, I think everyone should have mentors, right? Who they might not even know they're your mentor.
Yeah.
But he's sort of like that for me. Like, I often think, what would Monty have for lunch? Well, it wouldn't be this Macca's. So he's someone who, he's been very important in my life. I'll try and connect you guys.
Oh, awesome. That'd be awesome, Dai.
That'd be cool.
Just want to ask him about how did it feel when you knocked out Shane Webke.
Oh, yeah. he can box, bro.
Yeah. The
That was-
Beethams,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, man, awesome, brother. But,
Oh, thank you so much.
I
I'm
appreciate
honoured
it.
to have
Thank
this.
you. Well, brother, we always give the guest the last words. So any words of advice for our viewers and our listeners and our men?
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that it's all about love. That life is all about love. You look at whatever's going on in the world, I think we could fix it through love. Why is there conflict? Why is there war? It's greedy people who want power and not sharing their love. There's enough. And the more love you give, the more love there is in the world. It's an infinite resource. And us as men need to be a bit more connected with that love. And we need to show it. Because I think a lot of anger comes because people haven't learned how to love properly, so they're not communicating with their spouse or whatever. So, no, just try and find the love. That'll be my last word.
Awesome, man. Oh, man, Dai. Thank you once again. And please don't forget to press the subscribe button. And we look forward to your wealth in our comments. And as usual, brothers,
Refine
Unlock.
and take charge.
Mandate.